So we've been covering and talking about this entire Sandra Birchmore case. Very, very sad. Sandra Birchmore was involved with the police department there in Canton at a very young age. She was in the Explorers program, learning about police officers, interacting with police officers, and eventually she was taken advantage of, allegedly at a young age, 14, 15, 16, and on through her adulthood. Built a relationship with a police officer, several police officers, according to reports. And Matthew Farwell is one of the main ones who's going to be mentioned in this case because he is the one who is alleged to have deleted or ended the life of Sarah Birchmore. Not only Sarah Birchmore, but the life of her unborn child. So now we've got some recent updates after this indictment came down. We had the indictment was updated last week or over the last couple of weeks, and we saw that not only is Matthew Farwell being charged with the murder of Sandra Birchmore, but also the murder of her unborn child. And I wanted to read this to you guys real quick in case you're not up to date on what's going on here. And then we will get into what updates we're hearing now about Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child. Check this out. So Matthew Farwell faces new charge in the death of Sandra Birchmore's unborn child. A federal grand jury in Massachusetts indicted former police officer Matthew Farwell on a new charge in connection with the death of Sandra Birchmore, 23-year-old pregnant woman who prosecutors say he strangled to death in 2021. Birchmore was found dead inside her Canton apartment. Her death was initially ruled a self-deletion, but Farwell was later charged with strangling her. Farwell was previously only charged with killing a witness or a victim on Tuesday in a superseding indictment, which we covered here on the channel. If y'all didn't see that, go back and watch that video. A second count under the state's Protection of Unborn Children law was added. Good. Prosecutors allege that Farwell engaged in intercourse with Birchmore before she was 16 years old. Some reports say 14, as young as 14, at times when he was on duty as a police officer. The alleged intercourse took place over the course of several years, the prosecutor said. According to the indictment, around December of 2020, Birchmore learned that she was pregnant and told Farwell that he was the father. On January 20th of 2021, a friend of Birchmore's called the police department and told an employee that Farwell had been having intercourse with Sandra. Yes, and by the way, Matthew Farwell, I don't know if he still is now, but at the time he was married. So Birchmore died, or her life was taken on February 1st, 2021, and prosecutors said Farwell staged the scene to make it look like she had died by self-deletion. The superseding indictment revealed for the first time that Birchmore was between 8 and 10 weeks pregnant with a baby boy. The new charge says that by allegedly killing Birchmore, Farwell thereby caused the death of the child in utero at the time the conduct took place. Farwell is scheduled to face a trial on October 5th of next year. Federal prosecutors must decide by January 20th of next year if they will seek the death penalty. Check this out from Court TV as we get more information. And actually, let me introduce this before we get into it. So now we're finding out that there has been DNA results from Sandra and her unborn child, and the DNA results are showing, or may be showing, that Matthew Farwell was not the father. It's a shocking turn of events. Here we go.
We allege that Sandra Birchmore survived years of grooming, statutory rape, and then sexual violence, all at the hands of Matthew Farwell, who was employed throughout their relationship as an officer and then detective for the Stoughton Police Department.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julia Janae, filling in for Julie Grant this morning. Thank you for being with us. This morning, we are giving a voice to the victims as we share a stunning development that was revealed this week in the murder of 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore. DNA tests show that the former police detective who's accused of killing her did not father her unborn child. Wow. Birchmore was found dead in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment back in 2021. Her death originally ruled a suicide, but later authorities arrested Matthew Farwell for her murder, alleging Farwell had been sexually exploiting Birchmore since she was 15 years old. She had been part of the police department's youth program, Explorer, program. The theory had been that Farwell allegedly killed Birchmore because she was pregnant with his child. And at the time of the murder, Farwell was married with children of his own, with a baby on the way from his wife. It's unclear if the baby's father has been identified now that it has been shown that the child that Sandra Birchmore mothered was not belonging to Farwell, the suspect in this case.
And this is the reason this is crazy, is because it's been alleged that there were other officers involved in this. Nothing has come out as far as charges yet that I'm aware of. But Amy made an interesting point about this, because my initial thought when I heard this was, well, obviously he either went over there because he thought that was his kid and he wanted to end things. He went over there to confront her about trying to reveal things. But Amy made a great point. It could also be that she told him that it wasn't his and he went over there to confront her because he was upset. That's another possibility as well. So maybe Sandra knew that it wasn't his. She told him and he was upset about it. Will we ever know? It's highly unlikely.
Case. So we're wondering, does that all change anything? Joining us now to talk about this is Claudia King, a domestic violence expert and former law enforcement officer. And we also have still with us attorney Joe Tamburino. Joe, let's first talk about the legal side of this. Could this new revelation at all impact the case against Farwell?
Yeah.
I think it would only have a slight impact, and here's why. The issue for motive is, did Farwell believe that he was the father of the child? Did he think that obviously as soon as she gives birth, the jig is up and everything's going to come out about their relationship? Everything's going to come out about he was supposedly charged with that he's been having sex with her since she was approximately 15, 16 years of age. So it is a factor in the case, but I don't really think it's going to change the prosecution much.
Claudia, can we talk about how this even happens? It took 3 years before Farwell was even arrested. This was originally ruled a suicide. What's the process for police in extracting DNA from an unborn child?
It's a great question.
Yeah, so it would definitely be something that would happen during the autopsy, most likely, and they would pull that DNA, whether it would be tested immediately or to be held to be tested at a later time. And then they would have compared that with Farwell's DNA to determine if he was the father. Like you, I'm not sure if they tested other people's DNA to determine who is the father or if they just determined that he is not the father. So I don't know where we're at with that side of the process.
And Claudia, just a follow-up, how do you think this impacts Farwell's case, or how police would have looked at him if they had known about the DNA early on? Does it change anything? Because we do have that surveillance video of someone who appears to be him going into her apartment around the time of what initially was thought that she took her own life, and now it has been ruled a murder.
Yeah, that video is huge. Absolutely. If that didn't exist, we might be in a different place. And, you know, I agree that this revelation about the DNA may not have a big impact because it does come down to what the defendant believed, but it gives them a little kernel of hope that maybe now they have an alternate suspect that they can point to. I don't think that's going to work, but it's probably the only Hail Mary that they have at this point.
Joe, talking about state of mind, we know there was that text message that Sandra sent to Farwell where she was elated about having a child with him. This picture here, congrats, we are going to be parents. It's something that no doubt the defense in this case, I mean, not the defense, rather the Commonwealth in this case is going to be using, and the defense is going to have to combat when they talk about what was in his mind.
This is crazy, man.
That's correct. And this is going to bring up another legal issue, because I'm sure the defense is going to object that this is completely hearsay. I mean, she is the decedent. She's not here for trial, obviously. But I'm sure what the Commonwealth is going to argue is that this is completely an effect on the listener, meaning what she said had X, Y, and Z effect on the defendant, Mr. Farwell. So, yeah, that is going to be a crucial piece of evidence, because one of the things that the prosecution is going to argue is this is what set all of the things in motion that led to her being murdered.
Yeah, Claudia, this is one of those cases that has been spoken of
I want to know personally, when was that text message sent in relation to him going over to her apartment? Because it seems and appears that Sandra thought that it was Matthew's kid by the text messages he sent. So now finding out that it wasn't, what the heck is going on here? Did he maybe know it wasn't his?
In the same breath with Karen Reed, because of the locality, because it involves police officers. Sandra Birchmore herself from the Canton area, and we have this the Stoughton Police Department that was investigated for not just Farwell exploiting Birchmore, but potentially other issues that were similar. Talk about that part of it when it comes to this case and what that could even be like for a jury pool for Farwell.
Not going to be great.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make the jury pool aspect difficult. You know, I think it's going to be one of those cases that everybody's familiar with. And it's unfortunate that this small area has what seems to be several police officers acting in a manner that they shouldn't. But what's fortunate is that it's coming to light so that now the Commonwealth has the opportunity to not only get justice for Sandra Birchmore, but also hopefully these departments can make changes going forward for the good of the entire area and those communities that they serve.
Claudia King, domestic violence expert. We appreciate your time. I know we have to say goodbye to you, but thank you for being on. Joe is going to be back in our 9 o'clock hour, so stand.
Wow. What do y'all think about this crazy turn of events? And there's going to be a lot more questions when it comes to who is actually the father, was actually the father of this child. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat.